Okay, so today we're doing something a little different. We're going on a kind of micro investigation. The goal? To see just how much we can really learn from a single line of text in a language we don't know, just by looking at it and its title. Let's dive in. And here it is. This is the artifact at the very center of our investigation. Now, for a moment, don't worry about what it says. Don't even try to read it. I just want you to see it as an object, almost like a shape, just a piece of raw information. And this leads us to the big question for today. What can a single line of text, totally removed from its context, actually tell us? You might be surprised by the answer. Now, to get started, you might think we jump right into analyzing the text, but we're not going to do that. Not yet. The first, and maybe the most important step, is to examine its frame, the context it was presented in. This is absolutely critical. So, where did this thing come from? Well, it appeared under a YouTube video with a very, very specific title, The Real Lord's Prayer in Aramaic. Now, that title isn't just a label. It's making a huge claim, and that claim is our first piece of evidence. What's so smart about this title is that it immediately creates a comparison in your mind. It takes the Lord's Prayer, something many people have heard of, and then it slides in one simple but really powerful word, real. This immediately suggests that this version is somehow more genuine, more authentic than any other one you might know. Let's break that down because every single word here is doing some serious heavy lifting. Real just screams authority. Lord's Prayer connects it to a huge, well-known tradition. And then Aramaic adds this layer of ancient history, of scholarly weight. Together, these words aren't just describing something, they're persuading you. They're shaping your opinion before you even see the evidence. All right, so we've analyzed the frame. Now it's time to look at the evidence itself. We're finally going to turn to the text, but here's the twist. We're not going to try to understand its meaning. We're going to do a purely visual analysis of its structure. So here's our line of text again, but this time I want you to actively ignore any potential meaning. Don't think of it as words or a translation. Just see it as a shape, a visual pattern that flows across the screen. Okay, so the obvious question is, how in the world can we get any useful information out of this if we don't speak the language? I mean, where would you even start? It kind of just looks like a jumble of symbols, right? Well, the process is actually way simpler and more objective than you'd think. It's just 2 steps. Step 1, we just observe the spacing, the natural gaps between the characters. Step 2, we use those gaps to identify distinct groups of characters, what we can think of as visual words. And look what happens. When we apply that simple process, this single, intimidating line of text suddenly breaks down into smaller, more manageable units. Without any translation at all, we've started to reveal an underlying structure that was there the whole time. And this brings us to our very first piece of concrete data, extracted without knowing a single word of the language: 14. By analyzing its visual form alone, we figured out that this sentence is made of 14 distinct units. This isn't a guess or an opinion, it's a structural fact we just uncovered simply by looking. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. On one side, we have the powerful claim made by the title, that's our frame. On the other side, we have the structural data from our visual analysis, that's our evidence. So what can we actually conclude from all this? First, let's be really clear about that word authenticity. For our little investigation here, it's a claim being projected onto the text by its title. The point wasn't to prove or disprove that claim, but to understand how the claim itself is designed to shape our perception of the text from the get-go. So, what are the big takeaways here? First, and this is a big one, titles aren't just labels. They are powerful frames that set up how we perceive information. Second, we proved that we can analyze something structurally without understanding its content at all. And finally, we were able to pull out real, concrete data, those 14 units, from a text we couldn't even read. That's pretty cool. This brings us to a final thought. Let's go back one last time to that artifact that started this whole thing. Look at this text one more time. Does it feel different to you now? It's not just some unknowable string of symbols anymore, is it? It's something we've actually examined, deconstructed, and understood on a purely structural level, all without knowing what a single bit of it says. And that leaves all of us with a much bigger question, one that applies to basically everything you see and read. How does the presentation of a message, the title it's given, the source it comes from, the frame it's put in, how does all that ultimately change the meaning of the message itself? It's a really critical question to keep asking. Thanks for joining the investigation.